Hey, ladies. You're listening to WNYO on 88.9 FM, Oswego, New York, the Laker Radio Network.
That just sounds so official, like the Laker Radio Network.
It does sound official. It's going to take me a while to remember that we changed it without having to look at like a sticky note.
Yeah, it's also up there too.
But yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was changed until you started talking about it.
Yeah, no. That's right.
All right, anyways.
So, with that sexy intro out of the way, you're listening to the radio show. It's Will's Fantasy Hour, and I'm your host, DJ William. Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Not too bad.
It's going all right. It's going good for me. How's it going for you?
I fixed my mic, so I'm good.
Excellent. Cool.
So innocent.
Yeah. So, first, I had the first show of the season last week, but that was more of a sit-down, rambly sort of listening to a homeless person on the bus talk about stuff.
So you're saying you had a recording of a homeless person, or you just pretended you were a homeless person on a bus?
No, the way I was talking, in hindsight, it sounds like a homeless rambling.
I see.
Have you ever
was
listened
bad.
to a homeless
But-
person on the bus? They drop some wisdom.
Sometimes, sure.
But they
But
also might drop a switchblade. But who knows?
Yeah, but don't take their stories too seriously. And you're like, okay, not going to do crack in my life. Got it.
yeah, that's the wisdom you take from a homeless person. That's not a lot of wisdom, but it's good wisdom, I guess.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
Off to a good start.
Nice.
Okay, so
That's a word for it.
yeah, joining me in the studios are a couple of new people. Say your name, please.
I'll be called Alan Almonds.
What?
It's to make fun of Paul, and he knows why.
My name's Paul.
Paul Emerald, good to have you back
Yes.
on the show, my friend.
And I'm Ben.
Yeah, Ben Fogel.
What?
I forget what your last name is.
Skillman.
Skillman, sorry. Ben Skillman. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Been about-
I'm glad to be back.
A year? More than a year?
Not quite, because I was on last fall.
Right. But it's been a minute.
Yes,
Cool.
it has.
All right. So let's move on with this program now that we've got a nice board of committee head, whatever.
Is that what we are?
I don't know.
I thought we were forever guests.
Forever guest.
Yeah, no, that's your forever guest. That's more the word for it. You're a squad. we're an ovular table.
All right.
Cool. So,
We're the knights of
do you
the
guys know
ovular
what's
table.
happening on Friday this week?
It's going to be Friday.
It's
Yes,
the
it will
start
be
of the weekend.
That's correct. All of those things are technically correct.
Well, considering we were just talking about it, Borderlands 3 is coming out.
That is correct. It's been 7 years since Borderlands 2.
Oh my God,
Technically
I
the
feel
last
so
good Borderlands game.
Wait, 7?
I'm fairly certain 2 came out in 2012 originally.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's been a long time, but we've got more stuff to do. So I felt like in honor of Borderlands 3 coming out later this week, and because I can't celebrate it anywhere else, we're going to talk about the second game, the best game in the trilogy, obviously. And for right now, we're going to celebrate it the only way I know how. We're going to take all of the classes and break them down and say which are good and which suck. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the class struggle.
Oh my gosh.
I knew that was coming, and I still wasn't prepared for that.
Oh my gosh. I thought you called it class war, but I guess that doesn't really matter. But
Also, I just want everyone listening to know that Will put his hand up and struck a pose.
You have to strike. It's
Like
a power
Bray Stole
pose.
Smash.
man.
also,
It adds enthusiasm to the bit.
Krieg is best. Krieg is best.
We will wait and we will see.
Krieg is best.
We will wait and
I have the shiniest meat bicycle. If I can play as a man who says that, he is best.
all right, fine. Well, you have your opinions to yourself.
So
I
the
have
gauntlet
mine.
has been thrown down.
The gauntlet has been laid.
Paul thinks that Krieg is best girl.
Let's find out.
Indeed, he is. Krieg is the prettiest princess.
All right, boys, grab your guns, find some friends, and let's get ready to fucking cheer splode. Because now we go for the class struggle Borderlands 2 edition. All right, so let's explain what's going on here. For those who were in here for our last class struggle segment, basically what happens is we're going to take every individual class in the game, break it down to its specializations, its strengths, its weaknesses, and because these are actually characters, we'll do some background information too.
All right,
Neat.
sounds good.
Yeah, I thought it would be good.
Krieg
All
is
right.
prettiest girl in Tutu. But anyway.
All right. So, 6 characters in this game, and there's only a few specializations. Much easier than the last time when I tried to do all of Dungeons & Dragons 5e classes.
That
Yeah,
sounds
that
like a
was a
lot of fun,
lot.
though.
It was a lot of work, and I did a lot of reading. I learned stuff, though.
I'm sure
I
you
learned a
did.
lot of stuff I didn't know before,
Oh.
and I'm very excited to be using it. And
So that means
whatnot.
Pathfinder's next, right?
No, because I like myself.
Aw.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. And Pathfinders isn't really my deal.
Also, to clarify, I'm not disappointed you like yourself. I'm disappointed for not doing it.
Well, unfortunately, yeah, sorry. So let's break this down. For those of you who may not know the Borderlands 2 system, I'll give you a brief summary. So it's a level-based system from 1 to 80. At level 5, you get a special skill which only your character can use. Every level after that, you get skill points, and the skills will be broken down into, well, skills, which can increase your abilities, change them entirely, and just make you just a little more awesome. Just more awesomeness, and makes it easier for you to grab someone's head and just unscrew it like a can of paint.
Or if you're like me, it makes the tripping easier. You know,
What?
I'm not good at Borderlands.
Okay. I was like, is there a pun there?
No, not this time.
Okay.
Oh my
So,
gosh. This
6
guy's all for the puns.
I do like puns, so he's in the right wheelhouse. All right.
Oh man, the gate is open, Paul.
6 characters, each one with their own special skills, and 3 possible skill trees, each one with their own different skills. You can mix and match in between the two, but the more you invest, the better skills you get. They're broken up into 3 basic categories. Each one's are different names, but they all are color-coded as either blue, green, or red. Blue is the one that gives generally like overall improvements across the board, general statistics and things that'll just make your character simple but better. Green is the one which will give you specific builds or play styles, but will make things more interesting. And red is the one that is the most violent and usually involves dealing the most damage or tanking the most amount of damage.
I love it.
Cool.
Give me your whole stock.
Well, even if you get the whole stock, you're still going to have stuff left over. There's a lot of points, and you're encouraged to mix and match.
All right.
All right. So first, we're going to start off with the character that I like the least, Zero the Assassin.
That's
Why?
fair.
Out of all of the 6 of them, I feel like he's the one that I don't sympathize with like at all.
It's like, come on. He's a dude. He's a ninja. He speaks haiku. What's not to like? Oh
Look,
my God.
yes, he's a
I just
dude.
gave the reasons why not to like him.
Well, that depends on how people feel about haikus
And
and
s-
dudes.
And semi-canonically, he's gotten into 2 vault, which is more impressive than most other vault hunters.
Yeah, well, technically speaking, all the other vault hunters got into the vaults too.
Only 1, though.
Yeah. They got busy afterwards.
Yeah,
They
and-
celebrated.
Tales from the Borderlands.
Yeah.
He can technically get a second one, semi-canonically.
Yeah. I don't care. He's just, no. I don't like him.
Seems like you just have like bad opinions of him. It's like,
Okay.
that's your personal belief.
Maybe that is. I just feel like, as a character, he does a lot of things that other characters can do better. Oh, you want to be melee focused? I feel like I could go and just play Krieg. Oh, you want to be sniper focused? I really feel like I can just pick up sniper rifle on anybody and it'll be fine. But other than that, nothing.
But do they have holographic decoy?
No, they don't have the hologram.
Do they have a badass cape or
He doesn't have a cape.
cloak? I misspoke.
That's not not that cloak. Not that kind of cloak. Cloak is in to hide yourself from something.
Yeah, he does like as an
Not the fancy thing that blows in the
invisible
wind.
cloak.
Wait, do you have your phone so you can look up stuff from the game?
Exactly. I'm feeling included now.
All right,
Nice.
let's get down to brass tacks. Let's do this. All right.
Okay.
So, as mentioned by Alec, Zero's special skill is what's called deception. Oh, also, most of his skills have O's in them, but he replaces the O's with zeros.
Yes.
And that's, I don't know. I'm torn between, is this cool or is this dumb?
It's like both.
Okay.
I think
Well,
it
it's
is
a
kind of that
pun,
middle
so
ground
it's
where
like-
Borderlands hits really often, where it's dumb, but you're like, I'm in.
Okay.
Like there's a perk under like. Never mind.
We will probably get to it. Anyway, so yeah, his skill is deception, where he can create a clone of himself, a holographic decoy, and then everyone else will attack it without fail. He turns invisible, and then while he's hiding around and skulking and waiting for his perfect moment to strike, like a little pansy tactician.
Everyone who plays rogues in D&D's just said, ooh, Will, not a fan.
Yeah, no.
Not of you.
Yeah.
Also,
That-
couldn't you argue that's what Naruto was?
Naruto is dumb.
Okay, so I see where your bias comes from.
Okay.
I like ninjas. I don't like Naruto.
Yeah.
Thank
It's
you.
just fair.
Thank
That's
you.
just like that's less ninja and more like look at this dramatic fight scene.
Yeah, look at this guy who is just a terrible person, but I'm going to help him anyway because...
All right, back onto your gripes.
Right, anyway. So yeah, while he's hiding, he can ready his next attack. And if he hits with his sword, it does like 7 times the damage it would normally does. And if he does it with his gun, that's about 3 times as much damage. So take your time and pick your shot, I guess.
And you know, the 7 times damage would be impressive if melee attacks did like any damage in that game.
Technically they do. It scales with level.
I never really found it that useful except for when I was over leveled.
Correct. Anyway, so the first one is his tree is called Cunning, which is mostly about counterplay and using your deception skills to its most effective advantage. The first skill he has is called Count. Well, okay, I just want to get this out of the way. I'm going to talk about a lot of the skills, but I can't mention all of them because there's like 10 to 12 per tree. And for 6 characters, that would be somewhere along the lines of over 200 skills I have to talk about.
Fair
It
enough,
would take
yeah.
too long.
It would be somewhere over 45.
Yeah, some of them are just really
At
simple.
least 2.
Yes.
Some of them are just really simple. So I'm skipping out on those and just focusing on the ones that exemplify what the tree is about or things that dramatically change how you play your style.
All
That's
right.
fair.
So the first one is called Counter Strike, which says when you get hit, your next melee attack has a chance of doing about 3 times more damage. A chance. And also, you don't know that unless you look at the little bar next to your experience points and it pops up and says, hey, you can do this, which, you know, for some people is difficult because the game is very flashy and loud and it's filled with explosions and guns and robots and weird mutant monsters and fire and death, and it's distracting.
That's fair.
All right.
His,
Anyways.
his
Yeah,
next skill is called Death Mark, where it says enemies will take 80% extra damage from all sources after you target them with your iron sights, which basically means that if you can work together with people, you point at a target and they're just going to take way more damage.
That actually sounds really good.
It is pretty useful.
That sounds very useful.
No, it's pretty
Yeah,
useful.
and the more
I will
teammates
admit
you
that.
have, it scales exponentially.
Technically, yeah, it'll be more useful. Yeah. Next is Two Fang, which says you just have a 30% chance to fire your guns twice, which is fine. Nothing really fantastic.
Yeah, more let down the range. That's all right.
I mean, that is kind of a weird choice, though. Like, if you're using a sniper rifle, that might even hurt you because you might miss with the second shot.
Right. Well, the accuracy of the second shot is also debatable. I guess it's good if you're using like submachine guns or
Yeah.
anything with a high magazine count, where if every shot has a chance to fire twice,
Yeah.
then it's exponentially more likely.
oh my gosh, the never-ending infinity would be insane with that.
Oh yeah, no, it's also insane with another skill that we're gonna get
Yeah.
onto down the list. But the final one in this tree that we're going to talk about is the ultimate skill known as the Death Blossom, where once you're in deception mode, you can, instead of attacking, throw these elemental kunai. It doesn't say necessarily what element it is, but I believe it's electricity.
All right.
And you can do that up to 5 times. It won't take you out of deception like most other attacks would, and while you're in it, you can apply your death mark, which means that you can target someone, throw the kunai to do an insane amount of damage, and as long as you're inside of it, the death mark still applies and you're out of danger.
Depending on how much damage the kunai do, that sounds pretty good.
They stack. It's set instead of scaling with your level or your weapons equipped. So not a ton.
Okay.
A lot of skills in this game fail because of scaling like that, where it's just rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, and there's no like, what kind of damage am I doing?
Okay.
I want explanations. Right. So his second tree is called Sniping, and I'm going to let you take a guess on what's that about.
I'm guessing using assault rifles at very close range.
That is entirely correct.
Nah,
I knew it.
I'm gonna say it's him. He's just gonna become really armored and not all glass cannon.
That's another good choice. Alec?
Is he gonna poke people with a stick?
That's a really good
That would be
guess,
nice.
yeah. That's what I would do with it.
Imagine a character who wasn't deadly but just really annoying at people.
Just
like
poke
you just
people
poke
with-
them with
yeah.
sticks and throw firecrackers and yell really obscene things about their mother.
So basically, just be Craig.
I guess.
Or our friend Scott?
Oh my gosh.
We have this friend Scott who will literally play games and will just shout the most random thing. What did he say last time? He played like a war game. Again, they were in Korea and they said, "Go home, GI. Your wife don't love you."
Ooh. Wow. That's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That hurts on an emotional level.
But anyway.
Sniping.
Sniping.
Sniper rifle.
Nice.
Super crits. And in my opinion, the only reason why he gets played as a character is because of this skill tree. First, he has his headshot skills, which just means you do 20% more damage with every critical hits. So if you're accurate and you get those critical hits, it's good.
Nice.
Next is the killer skill, which as long as you're killing people means you get more crit damage and you can reload faster, which means that more killing, which continues the cycle. Next is one shot, one kill, which says when you fire the first bullet in your magazine, that deals almost 60% more damage. So as we were talking about before, when you have something like the Infinity Pistol, which only has one magazine and one bullet, every bullet is the first bullet, which means you get a huge damage boost.
Oh my god.
And considering that it's increased rate of fire and pretty good accuracy, it makes it pretty darn dangerous.
Especially if you're fighting a big boss with a big weak spot, you can just get hundreds of crits stacked on each other.
Yes, and if you're fighting a really big boss, you're going to want to use his next skill, which is known as Bore, that's the reason why people play him. With the Bore skill, what happens is when you shoot a shot with a sniper rifle, you can pierce their enemies, and for every additional enemy it hits, the damage doubles,
Cool.
So with a big boss, you get like 5 hits, and
depending on which spots you hit.
Ooh.
Because it counts regular spots and crit spots as two different things.
I see.
So the damage can become exponential. I've seen the right leveled players take out the bunker, which is a giant flying robot with one shot.
Nice.
It takes the proper amount of leveling, but it's fine. And then the last one is called Critical Ascension, where it says if you score a critical hit with a sniper rifle, you'll gain more crit damage and just overall damage. This is a stack, and it can stack up to 999 times.
Yikes. How fast does the stack go away?
The decay rate is about a few seconds.
Huh.
So if you're really careful, or if you've got a very accurate sniper rifle with a high rate of fire, you can score a lot of critical hits and then pick the hammer buster sort of thing and then just one-shot them. I guess it's fine. You know, like I said, whenever I play Zero, I just feel like I'm losing out on something else. So maybe that's just me. And we'll go with his final skill tree, the Bloodshed, which is about crazy, crazy melee damage. We'll start off with his first skill, Killing Blow, which says you gain 6 times as much melee damage if you're hitting an enemy with low health, which is below 40 or 35%. So they've got to get pretty low, but I guess that's good. Next is Be Like Water, where it basically says if you shoot someone with your gun, you gain extra melee damage, and then if you stab someone with your sword, you gain extra gun damage. So you're encouraged to switch between the two to always get the buff, which
All right,
is
that-
fine, but the stack isn't too huge. Backstab. I'll give you a guess what that does.
You stab them in the front.
That's correct. Yeah, if you do 40% more damage if you stab them in the back.
Fair enough.
Next is Resurgence, which says that when you kill someone, if you melee them to death, you can gain up to 20% of your maximum health back.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good, especially if you can keep your shields up high, which means that you can constantly regenerate, as long as you're careful in a fight. And finally, the last skill, which is probably the best one in his arsenal, I think, is Many Must Fall, where killing an enemy with your melee skills while in Deception will reset Deception instead of ending it.
Ooh, that's really good.
So you can gain all of the damage buffs while you're stealth, backstab someone to death, and then your stealth resets.
I imagine if you're spec'd into that and the first tree, you can throw kunai to weaken them and then backstab
Exactly.
for the
It takes a lot of time and effort, but it can be done.
kill. Yeah.
Next, we're going with my 5th character on the list, and my second least favorite, Maya the Siren.
Okay, that's the one that hurts me.
Okay, look, I'm not saying that because she's bad. I'm saying it because she's the one I've spent the least amount of time with. And so I just don't, yeah. But Maya is a very cool character. She's one of the 6 sirens in the entire universe. Sirens are basically interdimensional space wizards, and they do all of cool things like gravity and fire
And arms, apparently.
and eggs.
And
Eggs?
Eggs.
Eggs?
Eggs.
Why eggs?
Yeah, why not eggs? If you are a wizard, why wouldn't you want to do stuff with eggs?
That's fair.
They're excellent.
Thank you.
I am the Eggmancer.
So yeah,
Funny yoke.
yeah. So Maya's whole backstory is that she was kidnapped by a group of monks at a young age, and They were like called the Order of the Impending Storm, and they 100% used her to threaten people to listen to the church. And then she found that out, and she killed one of them. And then she's like, "I'm gonna go out and find myself." And then she just kind of kept murdering, and things are good now.
Yeah, went out to find herself and then decided to find vaults instead because, why not?
Yeah, she dyed her hair. She's wearing a cloak now. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Cloaks
Her
are
design
cool.
does look really good in 3.
Yes,
Dyed hair shows character progression.
exactly.
I do, however, like how like there's like the idle comments like characters make every now and then, and like Maya's the one is just like, one last time someone gave me advice was like he said, "Young woman, you don't know what you're doing." He probably would have said more if I didn't pull the trigger.
Classic. So yeah, Maya's special ability is what's known as the phase lock, where she uses gravity and magic to take someone and then just hold them in midair, and then they're just there with their pants down and just go nuts.
Like a pinata, but
Like
for
a
guns.
Yes, like a pinata.
Meat pinata.
Meat
Okay, yes, sorry.
pinata. Excellent.
Krieg approves.
Exactly. Her first skill tree is known as Harmony, and it's actually really the only support tree in the entire game, which is weird. Her first skill is Sweet Release, which says that if you have an enemy phase locked and you're dealing damage to them, they'll start oozing health, which you can pick up and then spread amongst your friends.
Nice.
So that means that as long as they're taking damage, you can heal yourself and them.
Of note, when I played the game with my sister, that was the trait I had to use because my sister was not good at this game.
How old was she?
8 years my senior.
Well, that's a little embarrassing, but if she's not a epic gamer like yourself, I understand. Hey, don't laugh. I'm also an epic gamer. I recently got my epic gamer headset.
If you're gonna say it, do the voice. Epic.
gamer, I'm an epic gamer. I'm gonna do what's
my
called a
God.
pro gamer move.
Oh no. All right. More
Anyway,
gripes.
her next skill is called Sweet Release, where... Oh, no, I did that one already. Sorry. Her next skill is called Restoration, where not only will it raise your maximum amount of health, but if you shoot someone with your gun, and it's your ally, it actually heals them for about 30% of your total damage output.
Yeah.
So if you're busy, or if you're not busy, you're like, okay, I'm just going to shoot this guy and that guy, and it heals them, which is really
Friendship
cool.
bullets.
Yeah, friendship bullets. Next
What are
is...
you, flowery?
What?
Flowery.
Oh, right,
Yes.
right.
Oh.
Friendship pellets. You collect them.
Yes.
But anyway.
Touch them. Do it.
Do it.
But anyway, yeah. Continue.
Yep. Next is Life Tap, which will give you life steal, or basically a percentage of the total amount of damage you dealt is restored to you as health, which is pretty darn cool. And finally, Scorn. Oh, no,
I
wait.
love that ability.
Shoot, there is one left. Resurrection. Where
yes,
you
that
can
one.
basically waste your phase lock ability in order to revive a fallen teammate instantly, instead of having to kneel next to them and be like, "Are you okay? Are you injured? Do I have your consent to help you?" And then and then you wrap bandages around their boo-boos and give it a little kiss, and then it's like, "All right, you're good. Let's go."
Consent is important.
Consent is very
Yeah,
important.
that's true. That's true.
Like-
yes. I shouldn't laugh.
Well, if you think about it, you can do CPR on someone if you know CPR. However, if you don't have like a certificate, they can sue you.
Yes, that is true. But
I believe it's called the Good Samaritan Law, but that's off topic.
Yeah. no.
yes.
Right. So the last skill is called Scorn, where it's basically you throw a Hadouken, except this Hadouken is purple and sticky, and it covers everyone in slag. Slag is a very special element. It's basically the cell separator, which means that if you punch someone and they're covered in the slag, it hurts like twice as much.
I'm pretty sure it's just any damage is doubled.
Yeah, any damage is doubled.
Yeah.
It just hurts so much.
Such a good skill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which it's also a weird thing to be the cap for the support skill line. Like you get the most damage setup ability.
Oh
on
yeah,
that whole.
But that's the
character.
whole thing. You set up for the most amount of damage, you do the damage, and then all that damage you do not only comes back to you as health, but can come back to your allies as health.
That's fair.
It keeps you up and supported, so you can support them. Support your healers, everybody. Otherwise, you're dead. Very important.
That sounds like someone who played healer would say.
Oh no, yeah, no. I've done a lot of that.
Yeah, anyway.
Her next skill tree is called Motion, and it's all about tanking and crowd control, surprisingly. The first most important skill in there is called Kinetic Reflection, which says it reduces your damage by half, and any damage that you don't take is reflected back at your opponents for the maximum amount, instead of being slightly less so, which is very nice. Next is Converge, which says when you phase lock somebody, it creates a sort of ripple effect where it'll pull in any nearby enemies, which means that if you get them in a nice cluster group, you can throw some grenades in their direction and everybody's dead with less effort.
And it synergizes really well with an ability that we'll talk about later.
Yeah, it's exactly what I'm talking about next. Because after Converge, we have Subsequence, which says, hey, so you phase locked an enemy. That's really cool. But now they're dead, and you've still got time left on your phase lock. Well, why don't we do you a little favor? This ball is going to roll on over to them and trap them next, as long as the timer keeps ticking down.
How considerate.
It's very considerate, and it means you get the most out of your other abilities. And then the final one, which I'll talk about, is probably the weirdest. It's called Thought Lock. Not Begone Thoughts. No thoughts.
I'm sorry, but that's the only way I'm going to think of it now.
Yeah, yes. Instead of doing everything I just talked about, why not instead you turn your phase lock ability into a charming ability, which charm an enemy into attacking their friends. And yeah, that's weird.
I love it.
I don't. Charm spells are like fear spells for me. It just makes the effort of being like, get back over here so I can stab you to death. Just a little more frustrating for me.
Also, something of note that I don't know if was mentioned with the phase lock ability.
Yes.
If an enemy is a boss or just otherwise too big to pick up, they just get a huge chunk of damage taken out.
Yeah, it takes
Somewhere
a lot of
between,
damage.
5 and 10% on a boss.
Yeah. It does a lot of damage.
Yeah. Very useful.
No, that's pretty useful. So yeah, that's a really weird skill, and I wouldn't recommend, investing into that one unless you really, really want to spend time with it, but I wouldn't. And finally, her last skill, the damage skill, is called Cataclysm.
My favorite.
Which is all about elemental damage and just doing a ton of damage. The first skill is called Helios, which says once you phase lock someone, it creates a fiery explosion around them, dealing constant fire damage. Just, they're stuck and they're burning to death. That's got to be a terrible time.
Very much so.
Next up is the chain reaction skill, where if you shoot someone while they're in a phase lock, the bullets will actually ricochet off of them into nearby enemies for a lot of damage. Very useful. I don't know how that works. I'm going to say science and just move on.
The Space Wizard has the best science.
Yes. Next up is Cloud Kill. No, this isn't your normal 6th level evocation spell. What we've got here is every time that you kill someone, they start just choking on acid. They start spewing acid all around
gross.
them for about 5 seconds, which means anything that's caught in that is going to feel the acidic burn.
It's also,
and then when they die, they get covered in acid.
It's also the best way to steal the second chance kills from your party members so they accidentally die.
Yeah.
Many apologies.
Fun. Next up is
Hey, they can't
Reaper,
complain if
which
they're
says
dead.
that, hey, if that enemy there has full health, you can do more damage to it until it gets down to about half.
All right.
So you do a lot of damage first, and then
And then, hey,
less.
if you have a party member playing Zero, that's when he steps up.
Yeah, that'll work. Next, there's the Blight Phoenix, which once you shoot someone, it'll give you an aura of both fire and acid, which will constantly damage your enemies. It's a lot cooler than it actually is. Once again, it falls victim to it doesn't scale with your strength, your level, or your abilities. Instead, it just does a flat amount of damage, which doesn't work when the enemies are constantly leveling up and getting stronger with more resistances.
But man, the aesthetic for that skill is so cool.
You get a flaming, dripping acid pair of wings around your body. And they fixed it, because in the first game, when you played as the original Siren, otherwise known as Lilith, you could get a Phoenix aura, but it also activated all of the explodey barrels right next to you. Ooh. So you have to be really careful when you're walking around, or you would just randomly explode.
You say that like it's the bad thing.
It is a bad thing. I just want to walk around and find my loot and not explode, and then I'm down and I'm like, and there's no one around for me to shoot to bring me back to life.
Yeah.
Bring me back to life.
Oh my god.
I wasn't ready.
I know, I wasn't either. Yeah. And so the final skill in that tree is known as Ruin, where not only are you phase locking someone and they're on fire, they're being slagged, electrocuted, and corroded. Means all 4 elements are on them at the same time. Which
There's a 5th element you forgot. Very important 5th element.
Explosive.
Yes.
It's not an element. It's an element. It's a chemical reaction.
It's an element.
It's a chemical
It's
reaction.
an element.
It's an
a
element.
chemical-
It's an element.
It's a.
I'm not
I'm
going
gonna
to say
go
you're
with the
wrong on your
popular
own
kids
show,
and
but I
say
don't
element.
think you're correct.
It's an
Once
element.
again, you're wrong.
Whatever. Moving on.
4 out of the 5 elements were used in that spell.
All I'm going
whatever.
to say is that Mr. Torque says it's an element, and I'm not going to argue with that man.
I'm not going to argue with Mr. Torque. That man says respecting women is badass, so therefore I agree
That
with
is
him.
true.
Yes. Nothing
al-
is more badass than respecting women,
Yeah.
says Mr. Torque, and
He
I
also
agree.
encourages you to go out and punch bad guys in the schlong. So,
Yes.
that's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Also, he plays the air guitar, which is a good instrument.
Sounds like he has a really explosive personality.
He does.
He does.
Yes,
He really
actually.
does.
That's actually a pun I can get behind.
All
Yep.
right.
Next, the fourth
Would you
best
say it was
character in the game,
poppin'?
in my opinion, Axton, the Commando. No,
Axton?
what?
Axton? That's white bread, my dude.
Yeah, that's why he's in the middle. He's not terrible, but he's not great either. He's in the middle.
Fair enough.
Thank you. Anyway, so Axton is an ex-military man who fled after he was supposed to be executed for not following orders and putting the team in danger and burning down that orphanage that one time.
To be fair, he did all those things.
It was an accident.
Yeah, I was thinking right about the last one. Okay, maybe he's trying to do the right thing, and then he burned an orphanage down. I'm like, that sounds bad.
He set thermal charges, and it just kind of spread to a nearby orphanage. That was not his. That was not his intention.
Oh,
Yeah. So his wife left him too.
Oh.
That makes it extra
It's not
sad.
like the orphans can complain about it.
Yeah.
what are they gonna do? Tell their parents?
Exactly.
Yes. His ability is known as the Saber Turret, where he can deploy a turret and it'll fire around, and it can get some very seriously cool upgrades. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so he has 3 skills. His first skill is known as Gunpowder, which will give little bonuses to a bunch of all your skills and stuff. And it's really cool. You can get Impact, which means that you just, in general, do more damage with all of your guns, which is good. Next is Metal Storm, which says it'll increase the fire rate for all of your guns and reduce their recoil, which means that when it shakes in your hands, it won't shake as much.
nice. I can get behind that.
Don't shake the baby, guys. Exactly. Next up is Longbow, which will allow you to take your turret and just yeet it. Just yeet it anywhere you want.
Just Hail Mary that.
Just
turret?
take it and just point it and just yeet.
Yeah.
Done.
I do
Will
like
is
that
doing
about
the
like
throwing motion.
Yeah.
I do like that about entirely like about his turret thing. It's like eventually it gets the skill where like it can teleport to or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. You just throw it. Normally you throw it, but it's more like you tug. It's more like without the skill, it's like you taking 2 concrete cinder blocks and just going, ugh, just, yeah.
All right.
It's a huge difference, and it also makes it harder. Next, you've got the Ranger skill, which will give you a 5% bonus to just everything you're doing.
Nice.
Yeah. More health? Yes. More guns? Yes. More ammo? Yes. More cereal in your cereal box? Yes.
Nice.
You got to stay healthy and hydrated.
Honestly, I wish I had a skill that gave me more cereal in my cereal
I
box.
totally want more cereal in my cereal box.
always
I would
want
run
more
out of
cereal.
cereal less fast.
That's the best quirk, having 5% more cereal in your cereal box.
Oh,
You really just say
that'd be
quirk
crazy.
instead of superpower?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
my head.
And that was the joke.
And the
Shame
last
on you.
skill that he has, and the least
talk to me
interesting
like
in that
that, you
tree,
weeb.
is called the Nuke, where not only will you be able to yeet your turret in the general direction, but it will also explode.
Really?
It explodes big.
Ah,
Nice.
Big explode.
Big explode. Not very strong though.
Oh.
For some reason, it's one of those
kind
ones
of-
where it doesn't scale, and it's weird.
That's disappointing, considering it's called a nuke and it doesn't do much damage.
No, and the explosion is surprisingly small actually.
Huh.
But you can throw it anywhere, so all you gotta do is point it at someone, and then it'll just.
So basically, you just yeet the nuclear football and make your enemies explode.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh, neat.
Okay, now we have to take a short break.
All right.
So yeah, I'm sorry, but we'll be back in a couple of minutes. So don't go anywhere, and we will be right back. Thank you very much. And you're listening to WNYO on 88.9 FM, the Laker Radio Network. And we're back. I told you it would be a short break. So, last we were talking about Axton, the commando, and we talked about his first skill tree, which is fine. Next, we move on to his second skill tree, which is called Gorilla. And it's the one if you want to make your sentry bot totally flippin' awesome.
Just for your final skill, does your turret turn into Harambe?
No. Nice one. Very
Thank
good.
you.
No.
Excuse me, what?
Because it's called Gorilla, throw the turret and it becomes Harambe instead. Gorilla,
Very
Gorilla,
funny.
Harambe.
His first skill is called Sentry, which will increase the duration that your turret can stay out and how many bullets it puts in the shooty gun chamber, which is very nice. Next is Scorched Earth, where it'll also fire rocket barrages.
Nice.
Which are explosive, which go through shields, which is very nice. And finally, it's Double Up, which will put a second gun on your turret, and all the bullets are coated in slag, which means you're doing a ton more damage.
Nice.
And there's other stuff in there that like health regeneration or more grenades or better shields, but whatever. That's boring. It's boring. It's not about putting rockets on a turret.
Fair.
Cool. And the last skill is called Survival, which is his tank skills. In general, it'll give you extra health and shield regeneration, and it'll increase those bonuses when your health gets lower. And the special skills are Phalanx Shield, which will create a dome around your sentry, which is big enough for you and your allies to sit inside of, and it'll protect you from stuff, which is pretty good, as long as you don't mind being stationary. Next, there's the Mag Locks, which will allow you to throw your turret, and it'll stick to walls and whatnot. So it's good for making sure people don't like just come up and kick it to death and knock it over. So it stops working, which is good. Next is the Grit skill, which will say when you take fatal damage, you can ignore it and gain half your health back instead, which is pretty dang cool.
Is there a cooldown on that, or is it a chance?
It's a cooldown.
Oh, okay.
Like, sounds like the Dr. Gavin sort of way of just like dealing with damage. It's like just
ignore it.
Just ignoring it.
Yes.
It's like I'm taking damage. No.
Stop. Don't do that.
And finally, the last skill is Gemini, where you can deploy 2 turrets at once.
Nice.
It's very nice. Double gun is fun. Yeah. So yeah, Axton, middle of the road, pretty okay. Next we get.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's
Never
okay.
mind.
Next we get into the good ones, which I really like. And the first one is Gage the Necromancer.
Oh, the broken one.
Yes, the small 14-year-old girl who has a robot arm because she accidentally cut her own arm off.
Oh no, she didn't accidentally cut off.
Well,
She
actually, she made a gat. She cut her arm, but then she's like, I have an idea. And then she cut her entire arm off. And then she made a robot one, which she then uses to summon a death mech.
Yeah, because she thought the summoning staff was ugly.
Yeah, no. I mean, what's cooler than a robot arm? How about a robot named Death Trap, which is their special ability?
What about 2 robot arms?
Well, then you wouldn't.
What if you were the robot?
Yeah, but then.
We're not Wilhelm here.
No,
Continue.
or Claptrap.
Or what about a giant Gundam?
Gundams are cool. Anyway,
all right.
So yeah, Death Trap. He shoots lasers and slashes with claws, and I love Gage because she's on Pandora for accidentally killing one of her school bullies, and honestly, that gets me right here. Like that's cool. I'm very glad that happened.
Also, that's some punishment.
Yeah, no.
Like,
Oh no, it's
not even
it's
just
not
put
a
in prison,
punish.
just banished
Oh,
to Pandora.
She didn't even get put on. That wasn't her punishment. She's just hiding out here because she likes it here.
And
She needs a
also-
place to hide. No one's crazy enough in their jurisdiction to come to the Death Planet.
The fact that somebody chose to go to Pandora is a red flag.
They
Oh.
all technically chose to come here.
I know, but that's still a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also the thing though about like her about her backstory is like her dad also provided a distraction for her to.
Oh yeah, her
to
dad's
le-
boss.
To in order to escape to Pandora, which apparently involved a golf cart and a lot of gasoline. Her words, not mine.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. And she has a lot of fun skills. Let's get into them. Her first skill tree is called Little Big Trouble, and it makes you into a living lightning bolt.
All right.
Her first skill is called the Shock Storm, which says when you or your Death Trap kill an enemy, they can explode with electricity. Capped, so it doesn't do a ton of damage, but still, it's nice. Next is called the Stare, where Death Trap will shoot lasers out of his eyes, which is pretty neat. Next is called Shock, and
Fair enough.
it says when you reload your gun, you can release an electrical nova that completely fries enemies around you. Next is the Evil Enchantress, which will improve your elemental damage when you kill enemies. So the more you kill, the more lightning you can fling. And finally is Interspersed Outburst, where if you just hold your fire for a couple of seconds, the next shots you fire will slag your enemies, making that electrical damage even worse. And then the final skill in that tree is Make It Sparkle. And it'll say if you shoot Death Trap with any elemental weapon, be it fire, electricity, corrosive, or slag,
How
he'll
about
absorb
explosive?
that element.
The fifth element.
Or explosive. He will absorb that elemental damage and start dishing it out to his opponents, which gives you a lot of variety, and it's really cool.
For context, me and Ben just high-fived because, explosives important.
Yes, explosions are very important, but this isn't about explosions, is it?
It's always about explosions!
I just have one question, though. Explosions!
Ah, yes, a very important question.
And a very important element.
Yes. All right. Next skill is called BFFs, which will give you bonuses while Death Trap is active. For example, The close enough skill will give you like a 50% chance to shoot someone when you miss your shot. So it'll just bounce off a wall and hit them, which is good.
Also, if you have a rubber band and the infinity gun, you just hide behind something and leave your controller and win.
Exactly.
Oh no.
Next
Yeah.
is Buck Up, where if Death Trap's active, he can fully regenerate your shields or your ally shields,
Nice.
which makes it very supportive. Next is Upshot Robot, where when you kill an enemy while Death Trap is active, it'll increase the amount of time that he can stay out as well as his melee damage, which means you're encouraged to kill a lot of people, as always. Next is the Explosive Clap. Death Trap does the Explosive Clap. He claps his hands and goes boom.
Yes.
It's very nice.
I like it. I also like how that name is a double entendre. But anyway.
Yeah. And finally, the last skill is called Sharing is Caring, where Death Trap gets a copy of your shield, which gives him a lot more defensive capabilities, keeps him out for longer, increases the damage. It synergizes very well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And the final skill tree, which he's known very much for, is
Oh.
Ordered Chaos. And it all starts with one little skill called Anarchy.
Oh my gosh, that
Where?
one little skill.
Anytime you kill an enemy or unload your entire clip without reloading beforehand, you gain a stack of Anarchy, which increases your maximum damage and decreases your accuracy by about 1.5%.
So I have a question. Does firing the infinity gun count as emptying your clip, or
Nope.
does it never empty?
It's never empty.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so you get by about 1.5 or 0.75%. It goes up to about 500, and that means that you can do up to 262.5% extra damage, but that's all you're draining all of that accuracy.
Yeah, but I mean, you get to a point where if you spec it all into the other skill tree, just bounces and hits anyway, so what's the difference?
Exactly. And it can get even worse because with pre-shrunk Cyberpunk, another skill from this, you can raise your stack limit, which means that the potential goes up to 700%.
Oh no.
Yeah, if you're not liquefying things then, you're doing it now. Next is her Blood-Soaked Shields ability, which says that you can get your shields back fully every time you kill an enemy, but you lose about 5% of your health every time, meaning that eventually you're gonna die. But you do so much damage that you can probably kill someone really quickly. Next is Rational Anarchist, where if you accidentally lost all of your stacks, you have a chance to gain 25 next time, starting you off with a pretty decent advantage. Then there's Discord, which says if you reload your gun, you can actually gain accuracy, increase your fire rate, and you gain health regeneration while depleting your anarchy stacks. Seems a little counterintuitive, but if it reaches a point where you really, really can't hit anything and you're in a desperate situation, you might need it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sounds like how there's that one strategy in Pokemon where you use, I think it's like stockpile, and then you can swallow to get rid of your stat bonuses but heal yourself.
Yes. And the last skill is Nth Degree, where it says every bullet, where regardless, will ricochet off of an enemy and hit another enemy for full damage, which is very nice. So yeah, Gage, Anarchist, and I love it. Next is the penultimate character, Salvador the Gunzerker. He's a small Mexican dwarf. Well, fake Mexican. He's Truxican, but that's basically space Mexican. And his ability, 2 guns at once. And do you really need anything more than that?
Yes.
3 guns.
Well, we would need 3 arms.
We need
No,
that
no, no,
one.
no. He would just have a gun in his mouth. There's like that one guy from the What's It show.
Zero.
Piece
Do you mean
Zorro.
Zero from One Piece?
Yeah, that one.
Zorro from One Piece.
That's what I said.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. So
All
anyways,
right, gripes.
so yeah,
False.
you can dual wield any 2 guns that you have in your inventory, and while you're firing them, you will regenerate health and bullets. I don't even know how that's possible, but it's really cool.
How it's going to shoot more bullets.
Yeah.
The bullets just regenerate back into your gun out of respect.
Exactly.
So it's like Deadpool, but for weapons.
Yes.
His first skill is called Rampage, which is all about making the most out of your gunzerking. Where first is the most, I'm going to say probably the most useful skill in the game, Inconceivable. Where, after firing a shot, there's about a 50% chance at the max range that you don't use bullets. Which means that the more damage you take, there's a higher chance that your guns will keep firing, but no bullets will leave the magazine. Which potentially gives you an infinite or close to infinite clip.
Nice.
Which means you can just spam. You can just keep firing rapidly as much as you want with no fear of running dry.
Beautiful.
Very good. And also, there's Last Longer, which lets you gunzerk for longer. You know, you can last as long as you like. You know, it's all about. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna
fair
stop.
enough.
I'm not gonna go
Yeah,
further with
fair
that
enough.
joke.
Yeah. I was sitting over here not making a joke, and then you started. So I was like, ah.
Yeah, no, it was in poor taste. Anyways, next is Yippee-ki-yay, which is, I don't know why he has Spanish influences, but also like cowboy influences, which is
He's a Truckistani, so you know what that's like, Truckistan?
oh yeah, I guess. Anyway, so when you kill things, it'll actually increase the time limit on your gunzerking.
Nice.
So as long as you're killing things while you're gunzerking, the time keeps going up a little by little. And that also increases with his Get Some ability, which will say, hey, if you kill someone while you're gunzerking, you don't have to wait as long to keep gunzerking. So if you do it just right, you can mow down all your opponents, keep going, and then your ability is fully reset once it ends. So you can just go right back to doing it.
Nice.
It's amazing.
There are only two skills that are important to me in the Gunzerker, however, I have to say that right now. The sexual Tyrannosaurus and the one where you flip people off to make them angry.
Yes, that's coming later.
Nice.
And since you mentioned that, I'm not going to mention his other two abilities, which are Steady as She Goes and Keep Firing, which basically says, hey, if you've got 2 assault rifles in your hand, we'll make them more accurate, you can reload faster, and you can reduce the recoil as long as you don't let go of the trigger. Not really applying to me. I use more shotguns and pistols and whatnot.
But that does synergize pretty well with the just unlimited bullets, hypothetically.
Exactly. Yes. Next is Gunlust, which is you deal the most damage with guns you possibly can. You can reload and swap faster between your weapons. You have Money Shot, which says the last round in the magazine does extra damage, up to 5 times as much damage. Next is Lay Waste, where it'll increase the fire rate and critical damage when you kill an enemy. Next is Down, but not Out, which allows you to dual-wield weapons while dying, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's a very easy way to get out from like your get your second wind.
Yeah.
Before I got Krieg, I used to Gunzerk like a lot. I loved
Yes.
Gunzerk because his strategy was more guns.
Yeah. And the final skill, which people also abuse the heck out of, is called No Kill Like Overkill. The way it works is that any excess damage that you deal when you kill an enemy will get added onto your next shot, which means that
Beautiful.
if you kill a very small enemy with a lot of damage, that damage can basically double to a bigger enemy, which allows you to kill them faster. So if you pick your targets right, plus your damage buffing skills, you can do an insane amount of damage.
So the idea is basically to just shoot the smallest one and just domino your way up to one-shotting the boss.
Exactly.
Huh.
Which is pretty darn cool, if I do say so myself. And finally, his last skill is called Rampage, where you just tank a ton of damage. His first skill is called, well, he's got 2. It's Hard to Kill and No Time to Bleed, where you gain additional health regeneration the lower your health gets. So the more damage you take, the more health you can heal back. So as long as you survive, you live. Next is I'm the Juggernaut.
Also, just occurred to me, just as long as you survive, you live. Like, people die if they're killed.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much. I'm the Juggernaut. With this, you gain damage reduction as long as you kill things. So you're shrugging off about a quarter of all damage you take, which means that your healing gets even better. Next is Just Got Real, where as long as the lower your health is, the more your gun damage goes up. So you deal more damage, you heal more, which means that you can kill more things and be safer. Next is the skill that you were talking about, Sexual Tyrannosaurus, which I only found out recently is a reference to the movie Predator.
I'm sorry, but if it was a reference to Alien, that'd be so much funnier. But
That's true.
But yeah, I only really know of that perk because of I chose it all the time, but also it pops up in the hint bar. It's like if you're playing as the Gunzerker and you saw the perk Sexual Tyrannosaurus and you just said, "I want that," we know.
Yeah. And the way it basically works is that they're like, okay, you took damage, you regenerate 5% of your health. Every time you take damage, you will regenerate a portion of your health.
So if an attack does less than 5% of your health, you win.
Yeah, you basically either gain or you cut your losses by a ton of amount. And the final one that you were talking about, Paul, is called Come At Me, Bro, where there's an explicit button used to flip off everybody, and they will all attack you. And when you do this, you gain full health, 50% damage reduction, and just massive amounts of damage.
It's like, oh, but everyone is pointing guns at you, just to let you know.
The ultimate aggro skill in the entire game.
Yes.
Plus, there's a button that lets you flip off people.
Yes, that's why I love
How can you
it.
not love that?
It's the best.
It's the best. And, therefore, by process of elimination, the last character to talk about is Krieg the Psychopath.
Woo!
An experiment gone horribly, horribly wrong. He's 6'7". He has incredible abs. He wears a face mask all the time. And his main weapon of choice is the Buzz Blade, a spinning buzzsaw on a stick.
I love it.
It's really good.
A deadly pinwheel.
Yes, it's a deadly pinwheel. And it ties into his ability, which is called the Buzz Axe Rampage, where you can increase movement speed and 6 times the melee damage that you get. And if you kill an enemy, you get all your health back, which is pretty darn useful. His first skill tree is called Mania, and it makes him an unstoppable tank. And I do mean quite unstoppable. It takes a lot to bring you down. The first skill is called Fuel the Rampage, where when you take damage, the amount of time you can Buzz Axe Rampage goes up. So that's pretty useful. You can only be, but it also has a side effect of you can be damaged by your friends.
Yeah, I remember I made the mistake of exclaiming that to my friends, and they quickly became my enemies.
Well, yeah. Lesson learned. Humans will not cooperate with each other.
So can you damage your friends, or is that a one-way street?
It's a
No, it's a
one-way
one-way
street.
street. Oof. Yeah, they exclusively hurt you. Next is Thrill of the Kill, where any excess damage you deal is restored as health when you melee someone. Next is Silence the Voices, a skill with the biggest drawback possibly in the entire skill tree. Your melee damage goes up by 3 times, but you have a 12% chance to hit yourself in the face. And you might be thinking to yourself, 12%? That's not a lot. No.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I once hit myself in the face 3 times in a row.
And it does damage,
And
folks.
it's not just hitting yourself and dealing damage. You also get disoriented, where the screen flashes and everything goes white and your head's all wobbly. So it could definitely screw you over in a very serious situation.
So basically, you hurt yourself in your confusion.
Yes.
I get
Yeah.
your reference.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, you hurt yourself in your confusion. But finally, his last skill, which is the best skill he has, is called Release the Beast. Once your health gets below 30%, you can activate your Buzz Axe Rampage, but you don't just become a Rampage. No, you mutate. You turn into what's called a badass mutant psycho. Your damage is doubled again, and you have half your... You gain damage reduction by up to 50%, and your health is fully restored. And the best part is that once it's done, you can immediately go back into the rampage. So that means that you can get into a never-ending cycle of, oh, I'm getting really low on health, full health, rampage. And then once it's full health, rampage. Just constantly, badassly just killing people. So awesome. His second skill tree is called Bloodstorm, which is just about doing a lot of damage fast. He has blood of damage fast. He has blood of damage fast. He has blood of guns, which says the more damage you do, the bigger your magazines get. Don't ask me how that works. I have no idea. Next is Bloodbath, Fuel the Blood, and Blood Overdrive. They all have names, but it basically means you can do extra melee damage when you use grenades, and you get extra grenade damage when you use guns, and extra gun damage when you use melees, and it's a triangle of helping each other.
So be like water, but with explosions and a buzz axe.
Exactly, it's way better.
Oh, so it uses the 5th element.
Yes. Blood Tranche, which says that once you rampage, you can get extra time based on how many blood stacks you have. And finally, Blood Splosion, where if you kill an enemy, you can cause an explosive nova that does about 6 times your regular damage, and it'll explode with different elements depending on what you're doing. And the final skill tree we have is Hellborn, the worst/best skill tree in the entire game.
I want to be on fire.
Exactly.
I need to be warm.
That's exactly what it is.
Are you a
You
moth?
set yourself on fire, and it works. First is Burn Baby Burn and Fuel the Fire. It'll increase the damage your burns do, but you set yourself on fire like half the time. But you can just do an insane amount of damage with fire. And there's a chance that your fire will keep going and do more fire. Next is Numbed Nerves, which says that while you're on fire, you get in half damage reduction. So you can potentially take less damage when you're on fire than you
Nice.
would when you're not on fire, which is crazy. Next is Fire Fiend, where melee attacks can ignite people on fire. You gain better accuracy, and you can reload faster while you're on fire. Next is Flame Flare, which says you can stay on fire for twice as long, and when your opponents are no longer on fire, there's a chance that it'll pull a trick candle and just immediately reignite. And finally, elemental empathy, where burn damage will actually heal you for a quarter of the damage you take, and his ultimate skill, raving retribution. While you're on fire and enemies attack you, you can spit fireballs at them.
Lovely.
Ooh.
And that's it. That's all of the skills.
Pretty heated.
We got a little over tonight, and I apologize to the people who have to go next, but I had a lot of fun. Do you guys have fun?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
fun, yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for coming with me. I really appreciate this. We'll see you all next week. This has been Will's Fantasy Hour. Go out and buy Borderlands 3 for your PS4, Xbox, or PC if you don't mind using the Epic Game Store. And remember, everybody, stay fantastic.